the alley-oops at Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. Is Jimmy in or out? I don't know. I can't put my thumb on it, Alex, but I'm trying to figure this out. I caught myself breaking down him opening water during his press conference. He was able to do it. I don't know if that means he's going to play on Sunday or not, but who the heck knows? Either way, we're a Jimmy Stan, so there you go.
We're Jimmy Stan's aunt. We're not excited about Trey Day. I don't know if you knew this or not. Trey Day, not excited about it at all. We don't want to see, our third overall draft pick aunt that we gave up a lot of draft capital for go out on the football field and have success. We don't want any of those things. Just not what we're about here, apparently, on the 49ers Cutback, even though we have stated that that's what we're about. It's fine. Look, it's fine.
We are consistent about what we want is the player that's going to give the 49ers the best opportunity to win the football game is the one we want out there. And that's one of the big conversations that's coming out of this is because Kyle Shanahan talked once again, and Alex, you went over this in a recent episode, and that's why I actually tweeted, if you've been watching our show, nothing that Kyle Shanahan said in his press conference on Wednesday caught you by surprise because you talked about the fact that a sprain and a grade 2 or 3 sprain is actually a tear of the UCL. The big thing coming out of it was the fact that it didn't tear all the way away from the bone. It's not something he has to have surgery on. It did chip the bone a little bit.
Whoa.
Oh, a fleck of
chip
the bone?
A fleck of bone came.
Oh, fleck, sorry.
Fleck of bone.
Yeah, Kyle stated he's not a doctor. Kyle stated he's not a doctor. I 100% agree with his analysis. And I don't think he cares really, but he had to get into this and let everyone know. So he did talk about that this is different than the Drew Brees injury that Drew Brees had, where Brees is completely tore away. He wasn't able to play. So we were right. It is more like the Matthew Stafford one where he can play. Now, Jimmy also talked, to the media as well, and he talked about how he even changed his throwing motion a little bit in the game, that it was difficult for him. All of this gives me pause, of course, because we need good production from the quarterback position, Alex. But what did you think about the things Kyle Shanahan said? And then how do you think this is going to be handled as the week goes? Because I think no matter what the case is, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance starting on Sunday, the 49ers are making it very clear they have zero plans to let anyone in the media and anyone for the Houston Texans know who's going to be lining up under center.
Correct. They have no plans. They're not making plans to let anyone know anything, give anyone any information, right? Give them pause, comfort, the sense of idea of, hey, we know exactly what the Niners are doing, who's rolling out there. I mean, the team 100% knows, if not right now, early in the day today, that they're going to know that is going to happen. But at the end of the day, with this whole situation, what Kyle's comments make me really think about is, number one, they're not rushing to a decision. Kyle has waited until he's had all the information to release the information, right? Him talking about the grade 3 UCL sprain, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, this is what we were saying. This is kind of what I was leaning towards. It was probably 2, most likely grade 3. If someone's talking about, some sort of, chip or fracture or things of that nature, then it's most likely a grade 3 situation and maybe something else happened. And sure enough, a fleck of bone comes up, but a non-complete tear makes me feel like not only number one, can he play through it, but number 2, it's all about pain tolerance, right? And pain level and him being able to manage the pain and understand his body and know what he has to do in order to perform at the level he needs to perform at. This happened, he says, in the second quarter. He played really bad in that second quarter. He played really bad in that third quarter, played really good in the fourth quarter. So this makes me think, right, that this is exactly what happened. It happened. He didn't think much of it at first. And slowly but surely it became a problem that he noticed and was like, oh, man, this is not good. And that interception in the second half, the one where he overthrows Deebo Samuel, that came out of his hand weird. And it came out of his hand weird because he couldn't grip the football. It was painful. He tried to get underneath it and it just sailed on him and it didn't come out like a tight spiral. And that's a problem. But he did fix it late. They drove down the field and got an easy score when they needed to. And so, look, can Jimmy Garoppolo figure it out? Yes. The real question is what he has figured out with his throwing motion and changing the things that he needs to change with his throwing motion in order for him to be able to throw the football effectively and for the Niners offense to move. Is that enough? Can that hold up over a 4-quarter game, over multiple drives after potential shots, maybe getting hit in that throwing hand on a pass? Will it hold up? If the answer to that question is yes, then I have no problems with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he has shown that, he's figured at least something out, but that's not a big sample size. It's a very small sample size. And the only way you get a big sample size, Ant, is to test it in an actual football game. And I don't know if you know. I mean, I know you know this, but I'm not sure if the Cutback crew knows this. Winning this football game this weekend is kind of a big deal. Do you want to risk testing that in this game?
I will have to admit, Alex, this concerns me a lot. Having a tear of that, that thumb ligament on the throwing hand and not being able to grip the ball correctly could be huge, because Jimmy Garoppolo consistently has to throw into tight windows because of where the 49ers attack over the middle of the field. This is a guy that's not throwing to wide open receivers all the time. We've seen him have to make these tough throws, and he has a tendency to kind of lead the ball over the top of linebackers and then leave them high. And he talked about this in his press conference, that he's usually able, to bring that back, and he wasn't able to with the ball to Deebo Samuel. Now, was he, like you said on that last drive, able just to, boom, 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 get the ball to Deebo, get the ball to these guys in these big plays, make the throw to Brandon Ayuk? He 100% was, which means he could do it when the adrenaline was flowing in the moment. Can he do it when there's no adrenaline? Can he do it at practice? Is he going to be able to grab that ball and flip it? A lot of the reporters were very upset they didn't get to see Jimmy Garoppolo throw the football at practice. Are you shocked? I'm going to look right at you. Why are you shocked? Nobody was going to get to see Jimmy Garoppolo throw the football out there besides coaches and the trainers.
Is anyone going to all week long? No one. There is not going to be a single ounce, second iota of film that comes out on Jimmy Garoppolo throwing this week, nor should there be. There should be nothing. Nothing.
Exactly. You give the Houston Texans nothing. Number one, if it is Jimmy Garoppolo, you don't want them to know that it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo and how the ball looks coming out of his hand if it is weakened in any way. But if it is Trey Lance, you want to give him every opportunity to be successful. And in that situation, you want them to guess, because it is going to be a different game plan. And if you're the Houston Texans and you're preparing for both, it's like Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo referred to in the press conferences. This is playoff football for the San Francisco 49ers. It's win, and if you don't win, you have the possibility to go home. It doesn't start in January. It doesn't start in the second week of January, third week in January. It starts right now. This is playoff time. 2022, it's playoffs for the 49ers. They have to beat the Houston Texans. So I thought that a lot of this is very interesting. I think there's a lot of layers that go into this, Alex, because we're getting to the point now where is an injured Jimmy Garoppolo still a better option at quarterback than Trey Lance? I don't know. I seen that ball come out of his hand, that ball to Deebo Samuel. I'm not sure. I have to and I said this to Lou in the comment section, I kind of have to refer to Kyle Shanahan, to these guys that are going to be able to see him to make the right decision as to who is going to be the quarterback. The only thing I know is I want them to make the right choice, because I want a guy that's going to be able to run and operate this offense. But the one thing I do know is if Jimmy Garoppolo is starting this football game, don't be surprised if Trey Lance isn't ready to go right away. And there's a question that BB50 asked that I'm going to get to after that. But do you think Trey, because they said he's been preparing like as if he's the starter all year long, that he's got a really good rhythm, do you think Trey will be ready to go, even if it's him being called off the bench if Jimmy struggles in the first couple drives?
100%. He'll be ready. No matter what, they're going to be ready. And I don't see any world where this is a week where you're not prepping Trey Lance to be the guy. You 100% have to, because you can't let this game slip out of your grasp. If something happens to Jimmy, if Jimmy can't go, if Jimmy starts playing really poorly, he can't throw the football, you have to pull the trigger. And it's nothing against Jimmy Garoppolo. You commend him for trying to gut this out. You commend him for going out there and trying to be the leader and be the guy that can put the team on his back and play through this. But at the end of the day, if he's just not healthy, and you got to make the switch. So Trey's prepping. We've heard Kyle talk about not wanting to use the 2-quarterback system because it takes him out of rhythm. This may be a week where it makes more sense in certain situations to just say, hey, Jimmy, you're coming out here for this drive. You're coming out for this drive. You're coming out here for this play. Let's let Trey go in there and run for 5 or 6. and not let you have to do this, right? Let's not put the onus on you here. When we get into the red zone inside the 10 or 15, pull Jimmy Garoppolo off the field. Let's see if we can get 5 or 6 good plays out of Trey Lance and try and get a touchdown in a different way than we normally would with Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe some more read option stuff or some boot action, and maybe Trey can punch one in with his feet. Like, this is a week where it makes sense. All of it makes sense. Literally opening up every aspect of the playbook, utilizing all your tools. And, if Jimmy wants to go, great, but don't necessarily put the entire weight of the game on his shoulders and that thumb. Disperse it out a little bit. You got a talented guy in Trey Lance who has done a lot of things and impressed you in some way, shape, or form. Kyle, yeah, maybe maybe you get taken out of rhythm, but is it what's best for the team to get potentially both of these guys out there and get Jimmy out of some situations that he may struggle in?
See, that was BV50's question. Is it now time for the 2-quarterback system? That's what he was talking about in this football game. Now, one thing that's been running through my mind, Alex, is would it be a smart move for the 49ers? We've seen the way they've used this roster, throughout the year. Would it be a smart move for them to have 3 active quarterbacks on the 48-man roster this week, and go with the fact that you're going to make them believe Jimmy Garoppolo is starting, and even put Jimmy Garoppolo out there for play number 1, even if it's just a handoff or a pitch, to make them believe, announce him as a starting quarterback, go through the whole process, make them believe it's going to be him, and then play 2, trot out the kid, let Trey Lance go after it, knowing that you've prepared your entire game plan for Trey Lance, but it gets the Houston Texans in the belief that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the quarterback. But the reason you keep all 3 is because you think in a pinch, Jimmy Garoppolo is still a better option to come off the bench if Trey Lance gets hurt or nicked up instead of Nate Sudfeld, and you can't lose a football game. You have to keep all your bullets in the chamber and ready to roll. Would that make sense?
1,000% it would, Ant. If Jimmy's not 100% there, but he's darn near close, and you're sitting there going, man, I really want to, but you know what? We may need him next week, right? We may need him next week, and if we could save him against this Texans team, and we don't have to use him, he can get a little bit closer to being healthy. Maybe we roll with Trey, but we'll keep Jimmy available, and Jimmy will understand and do that for the team. Then yeah, and Jimmy would do that if Kyle felt like, hey, I don't think you're 100% there yet. I think you're going to struggle in some areas, and I think it could hurt us. Let's wait until you're a little bit closer to being the guy we need you to be, and let's roll with Trey for right now. But in case something happens to Trey, I need you to be ready to go and be ready to gut it out. I think that would be. It would seem like the most safe play. That would be the safe play, because it would appease a lot of people. Jimmy wants to play, but they're protecting him from himself, and they're letting Trey have his opportunity and have his chance. But at the end of the day, is it the best possible option for this team? I don't know, and nobody knows. Anyone who wants to sit there and pretend like or say that they have an answer to this, that is the accurate answer. Correct. Trey is the best option for the 49ers. How could he not be at this point? Jimmy is the best option for the 49ers. How could you say anything else? It's nonsense. You don't know. Jimmy's not healthy. You haven't seen Trey play since Arizona. Nobody knows anything. The only people who know anything about the situation are the people involved. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan. Those are the only 3 guys who have any sort of confidence in terms of where they're at and where their abilities are. And those 3 are going to be the guys who end up making the decisions, right? Jimmy Garoppolo's ability to throw the football and execute and practice the rest of this week is going to determine it. Trey Lance's grasp and continual development within the offense and showing out in the big way in practices is going to influence that decision one way. And Kyle Shanahan, obviously knowing what he wants his quarterback to be able to do on Sunday, is going to be what determines this, not what people believe to be true.
Yeah, 100%. Nobody knows but the people inside that 49ers organization. They're the ones that are going to be making the decision on this, and they're the ones that week in and week out, practice in and practice out, have seen the development of Trey Lance, and they've all been very optimistic and saying a lot of positive things about his improvement. That's what gives me optimism about him being able to go in and win this football game. The key has always been who gives the 49ers the best opportunity to win. Kyle Shanahan's decision just got a little bit tougher because now he's got to weigh, the injury to Jimmy Garoppolo and how the ball is coming out of his hands against the development. And this is not a physical development of Trey Lance, but a mental development, being able to run the offense, play in and play out, find the open receivers, and then locate the ball, which he's getting better and better at according to, his teammates in practice. But Kyle Shanahan's the only one that can make this decision. I'm sure he's going to have Rich Gangarella in his ear, letting him know about the improvements. And then one of the cool things was one of the reporters asked, I'm sorry, I apologize, I don't know which one it was, asked Jimmy Garoppolo about, at what time does he decide to put the team first, if his thumb isn't ready to go. And he said he would make that decision, that him and Kyle Shanahan would make that decision. If his thumb was going to hurt the football team, he would take a step back and say it was better for somebody else to go. So Jimmy Garoppolo proving once again that he is a team player when it comes to this. Now, the competitor in Jimmy Garoppolo straight up said, I'm the quarterback. I'm supposed to be on the field. I need to be helping my team win. This is my football team. He was taking ownership of that. You got to like that as well. But I did like the fact that he said, you know what, if it comes down to it, I'm going to let them know that I'm not ready to go. And that's one thing I can say that is a good thing about Jimmy Garoppolo is he cares enough about these players and enough about this team that he wants to see them succeed. But in the back of his mind, he knows if Trey gets out there and Trey starts doing what Trey was drafted to do, it doesn't matter if Jimmy gets healthy or not. He might never have the opportunity again to play quarterback for the 49ers. So he doesn't want to lose that opportunity. He also knows they have an opportunity to do something in the playoffs. It is a tough pickle for Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, and Trey Lance. It's stuck in the middle, not by choice, but that's just where it is right now.
Anyone who's watched Man in the Arena and watched that second episode dealing with the relationship of Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady, and Drew physically being removed from a football game, not being healthy enough to go and watching a young second-year quarterback take your job when you were not only a franchise quarterback and a franchise quarterback who had just got paid $100 million to be the guy for a long time there in a team. Anyone who's watched that, and if you're Tom Brady and you watch that, right, that feeling. That feeling is not a good feeling of watching the guy beneath you. And if there's any way that you can prevent that from occurring, prevent anyone below you from being able to take your job away, especially when you've been playing amazing football, and Jimmy Garoppolo had been playing amazing football up until that injury and up until that Thursday night performance, that you can get it done, and you feel like you can get it done, and that there's just this thing right now, and if I can just get through this thing, it'll be okay. I can get it done. But I do like hearing that from Jimmy. I like hearing Jimmy say, hey, look, at the end of the day, yeah, it's my job. I want it to be my job. I want it to be my team. I want to lead this team. But if I can't do it, I'm not going to do it. And we'll decide that together. It won't just be a me thing. We'll figure it out with coach and we'll get it there. But Jimmy believes he's going to go. George Kittle, has had some praise for Trey as well. But he also said some things about Jimmy and said, Jimmy's a competitor. He's tough. He's played through a lot of stuff. And he's played through stuff as severe as this, if not worse. He believes Jimmy is going to be going this weekend. So we'll see what happens. The Jimmy in or out conundrum a couple of days ago was looking like Jimmy out, Trey in. It was leaning that way. In a shocking development, it has tilted the scales the other direction. It's almost like we called it and said no one is going to have an answer for any of this until Sunday.
Yeah, that's why I had to put a big pause on the video. Yesterday it was all about, hey, let's just wait and see what happens at the press conference, because I watched the press conference live, Alex, and I read all the comments as they're coming in from the 49ers faithful and people from the 49ers cutback crew that I've seen, a lot of names that me and you are very familiar with commenting, and everyone was anticipating the big announcement that Jimmy Garoppolo was out, that it was officially Trey Lance's team moving forward, and they didn't get that. And the reason they didn't get that was somewhat strategic, and then somewhat, I think Jimmy Garoppolo's injury, they're more optimistic about it than I think we were, because when I heard it initially, I was thinking, okay, he's probably out. He's going to need surgery. This might be the end of his season. Then we get the leak of the information, not really the leak, but the information that Matthew Stafford had played with this before. So I started kind of equating that to, well, Jimmy Garoppolo played a half of football with this injury. He might be able to do it again. So I think they're going to keep this up in the air at least until Friday. We're going to see what happens on Friday. If Jimmy Garoppolo is listed as questionable at that time, there's an opportunity for him to play the game. If he's listed as doubtful or out, we will have a clear-cut answer on Trey Lance. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm doing what I told you before. I'm naming Jimmy Garoppolo the starter. I'm having 3 active quarterbacks. You made a signing to your practice squad, which we'll get into in a minute. And I'm going with Jimmy's out there for the first snap. Texans, I hope you enjoyed preparing for James Garoppolo. And then play 2, here comes Trey Lance if Jimmy's not the best option, because I think that would throw them off. That would change the way they have to play. They've already had to prepare. but now you get to go full go with your plan. So we'll see what Kyle Shanahan decides during this week. It's going to be interesting as people continue to try to figure out and put their thumb on what is going on in the Jimmy conundrum. Is he in or is he out? And we're gonna have all the content coming. Of course, the live stream later on. We'll have, I'm sure, more things to talk about in that.
There's a good chance, and during the live stream a little bit later today, that's going to be the case. And look, it's a little bit of an interesting week here on the Cutback, with everything going the way that it's been going. With New Year's on Friday, you get the Friday frenzy a little bit early on Thursday, but we're going to hold off on the Madden Sim until Saturday, so you won't get that until Saturday. But you're also going to get Jay in the Bay on Saturday and a game plan video. So you're going to have 3 videos on Saturday. You got 3 coming at you today, including the game preview show after this, and then the live stream tonight. And then you get, New Year's Eve to just enjoy New Year's Eve.
College football.
Exactly. Watch some college football, enjoy the day, and then turn right around and get back to work with us here on Saturday, and as we get ready for the Sunday matchup, and the 49ers taking care of business, hopefully against this team. But there were some player status updates for the 49ers, and some very, I wouldn't say interesting, I think really interesting. Everything was pretty much as I anticipated. Aziz obviously out with a knee, Jimmy out with the thumb, Greenlaw still out with a groin, Talanoa Hufanga with his knee, Maurice Hurst with a calf, and then Alex Mack and Trent Williams both resting. Nothing wrong with them, folks, just resting. Limited participants were DJ Jones and Elijah Mitchell, which is a positive thing. And then nothing really on the Texans side, and other than the Houston Texans listing Deshaun Watson as a DNP with a personal matter. So I mean, that was a very interesting one. And then also it is extremely personal and very personal indeed. And then an update on Trey Sermon. He's still on injured reserve, but Kyle Shanahan, it sounds like he's expecting him to be activated for Sunday. So there's that.
Yeah. No, I think so. They opened his practice window last week. They said they got very limited practice because of the short week with the Tennessee game, but that he looked good. So he's going to be ready to roll. And with no Trenton Cannon, you can add him back to the fold. He does play special teams, and he can help you in that sort of area. Let's see what Trey Sermon can do if he gets on the field. If Elijah Mitchell is playing, if Jeff Wilson Jr. is playing, if JaMychal Hasty is playing, don't expect to see Trey Sermon except for special teams, but there is at least an opportunity.
Absolutely. Definitely an opportunity. But the Niners also made some practice squad moves, and they signed 3 players to the practice squad, and that included a quarterback. They signed quarterback Tyler Bray, who they brought in for a workout. And they signed punter Colby Wadman to the practice squad. And then they signed a former 49er and Mark Nzocha. Mark Nzocha back in the fold in San Francisco. I wasn't surprised by that, but because they hadn't brought him in for a workout, it just kind of came out of nowhere, but it kind of makes sense. As a guy who knows your system and has been in this locker room and been with this team before.
Well, they lost a linebacker. Tyrell Adams was signed off their practice squad. So 5 hours later, they've got to replace him with a linebacker and a guy that already knows how to play in the 49ers defense system, knows how to play for Richie Hightower in the special teams unit. So you add a guy that's 31 years old. He's still very capable of, adding depth to your roster, and somebody that's familiar with the locker room and the dynamics that are there. To me, it makes a lot of sense. I'm sure they've kept tabs on him all year. I'm actually surprised he hasn't came in before this. But I think this is where you're starting to get to a point in the season where you've ran through all those other guys. You know what money you have financially. This was a veteran practice squad signing, so it costs a little bit more money. But you know where you're at, and you know what you're going to need in the future. So it was a good signing. And then as far as Tyler Bray goes, I think that this is one where you brought him in to run your practice squad now. If you're going to be going against an athletic quarterback, it used to be Trey Lance that was going to be operating that. If he's going to be getting first-team reps, you need someone to do that. It's a different style of quarterback than Nate Sudfeld. So you need someone that can do that in a dynamic way. You don't want to take one of your receivers and have them, play that position. So you bring him in and you let him do that. I think this is a very strategic signing. So far, all the practice squad signings have been strategic. And Richie Hightower commented on the punter. He said, hey, just in case Mitch isn't ready to go, we have an emergency guy ready to go. This is not a big surprise. Once again, John Lynch and this staff continues to make sure they sign the right guys at the right times, and bring in guys that they know they can use just in case. It's just smart move, and that's why this practice squad has been pretty legit. And we've lost a lot of players during the year, but they've continued to replace them.
And they've continued to replace him. You've had guys signed off of our practice squad, quite a handful, in fact. And so, it also just shows that the Niners practice squad is a place where guys are getting developed and excelling. I mean, that's happening. That is happening. And if the practice squad is excelling, Ant, then I think we can all pretty safely feel good about Trey Lance's development and what he's been learning and picking up on. And who knows, maybe we see it this weekend, maybe we don't. But Fred Warner and George Kittle both chimed in on Trey Lance's development and what's been going on. Kittle essentially said he has definitely seen a change in Trey from the time OTA started through training camp to right now, and just how much he's developed and how much he's grown. And the things that he has shown that he can do, progressing through reads and et cetera. But Fred Warner's comments were the most interesting. And what did you make of them, and what exactly did he say?
Well, I mean, I think one thing that was interesting is we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week is that Fred Warner talked a couple weeks ago about the fact that Trey Lance was starting to absolutely carve up the first-team defense for the 49ers. He was starting to take control, and he was making it tough on them, and he liked the improvement. But his comments were very poignant and very on point about what he is seeing from Trey Lance now. And in fact, he said that Trey Lance was being tentative. Trey Lance wasn't taking chances. Trey Lance was tucking the ball and running a lot. And that was something that wasn't benefiting the 49ers defense. So he went to Trey Lance himself and said, hey, man, you got to let it go. You got to let it rip. You can't be so careful. And by saying that, Trey Lance in turn started opening up and letting it happen. That is team leadership. That is a player going to another player, recognizing they're holding back or they are afraid of making mistakes and saying, hey, look, don't do that. You got to let it go, man. You got to let your skills shine. And since then, we've heard nothing but great things about what Trey Lance has been doing at practice. So maybe it was Fred Warner, in fact, that got through to the young guy and just said, hey, look, it's time to let it roll. It's time to go out there and make things happen. It's okay to make mistakes. It's better to do that than to do nothing at all. And I think that this is huge news for the 49ers. It means Trey Lance's development is on target, because if he's willing to take chances and make throws that the defense is struggling to stop and he's having success with them, that gives me a little bit of optimism that when he gets in the game, he can do the same thing against somebody else's first-team defense, because our first-team defense is pretty darn good.
And it is pretty solid. It is pretty fantastic. It is pretty phenomenal. And look, this is now the second leader in this 49ers locker room, Ant, that has had to pull aside a young player this year and give him a talking to about something. You had Kyle Juszczyk doing it with Brandon Ayuk, and it turned a page, it turned a corner, and now you have Fred Warner doing it with Trey Lance. And now while Trey Lance's wasn't an issue of work ethic or things of that nature, it was an aspect of performance, right? But what has Trey not really done, even in college? He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over. It's not something he did a lot. And in college, it was asked of him to run the football a lot. Well, welcome to professional football in the NFL, where that's not necessarily always going to be asked of you. And one of our criticisms early in the season with him, and specifically that Arizona Cardinals game, was him missing some underneath throws and it feeling like he wanted to take off and run sometimes when he should have just either A, thrown the ball away, or B, had someone open and just didn't pull the trigger. So Fred basically going to him and being like, dude, number one, this doesn't help us. You tucking and running doesn't help us. And number two, it ain't helping you. You cannot be afraid to make mistakes. You have to be willing to make errors. That's the only way you learn. It's the only way you grow, is to let things fly, take some chances, and then, sit back and learn from them. Some of the greatest people in the world have said their greatest quotes and things that are attributed to them are, I failed 1,000 times before I got something right, but I didn't fail 1,000 times. I learned how to do something. Like, I learned how not to do something, right? I learned how to not get to the path or the end result that I wanted. It's all about the process, and that process starts with failure. Growth starts with failure, right? You have to fail, you have to struggle in order to get to where you need to become to be that kind of guy. And if you don't struggle, right, you don't have that adversity, you don't have those things, then you tend to at times slide back and slip back. There are always exceptions to the rules, right? There are always those guys who go out there right away and light it up, and it feels like they never deal with adversity. Patrick Mahomes seemed like that guy for a long time. He's dealt with some adversity this year, especially early in the season, and he's bounced back in a big way, and he's having a better second half of the season, as is the Kansas City Chiefs. So adversity sometimes isn't always a bad thing. We've been saying this all year. I've been saying about this team all year. This team has been dealing with adversity. It seems like Trey's been dealing with some adversity too, in terms of just not wanting to be the guy who makes the mistake, right? I mean, and Ant, I would imagine there's a couple of things that play into that. Number one, obviously him not making a whole lot of mistakes in college. Number two, Kyle's system, Kyle's offense, what is expected of him. If I tuck it and run, I may miss a receiver, but at least I won't potentially turn the ball over. So maybe, that's a more of a positive than negative. He may have been weighing that. Also, number 3, Ant, watching Jimmy Garoppolo make mistakes and some of the beating he takes from the media and the fan base, makes him go, okay, I don't want to make some of these mistakes. Maybe it's better for me to, not take some of these chances or not take some of the shots that he tries to take at times. I imagine all of that played in a little bit, but it's good a guy like Fred, a dog, Ant, in the locker room, as we like to refer to him, is able to just go up to him, be honest, and be like, dude, look, who cares? Let it all go. Go be that guy. Go be the guy we all think you're going to be, and don't look back. Don't worry about the rest of it. We're behind you. We got you. Just go shine.
Some of it too was, I believe that Trey Lance put himself in a quarterback competition, whether there was a competition or not. He's out there every single play thinking that he needs to make the right play to impress his coaches, impress his teammates, and feel like, he's in that fight. When really what practice is about getting better. It's about making mistakes. I mean, it really is. If you're not out there making mistakes at practice, you're not pushing your limits at what you believe your abilities are. It's one of the things that you do in practice. You heard Jimmy Garoppolo talk about it a lot during training camp. He threw some footballs to see what he could get away with. And that is something I wanted to see from Trey Lance in practice. That's why I wasn't really worried about his mistakes. I wasn't worried about Jimmy Garoppolo's mistakes in practice either during training camp. I wanted to see these guys go out there and push the envelope and see what they could get away with. And one of the things that Trey has to do is learn which throws with his cannon for an arm he can get away with in certain coverages. There are going to be throws that he can make that Jimmy Garoppolo can't make, that Nate Sudfeld can't make. In fact, probably a lot of quarterbacks in this league can't make. So he's got to go out there and find what his limitations are and what things he can get away with. The only way you can do that is by making mistakes. You're going out there and you're trying to be too fine. You're trying to play like Jimmy Garoppolo where you don't make mistakes. You're going to in turn make mistakes because you're not going to make the play that Kyle Shanahan wants you to make. What he wants you to make is a special throw that he drafted you to do. So I think Trey Lance is learning. And I think this was a big tip of the hat to Fred Warner, some guy who's made mistakes in practice that learned the hard way, going to a kid and saying, hey, it's time to learn, let it fly, let it rip, let your natural ability take control, and everything else will fall in line. And I think that that's what's going to happen. And this guy's going to grow because of it. And that's why practice reps are so important, because you can make those mistakes without any sort of repercussions. You don't hurt your football team by making mistakes in practice. You have those mistakes in a game and it hurts your football team. Ask Jimmy Garoppolo, ask any starting quarterback in this league. So I think him making these mistakes is big. The fact that Fred Warner went to him and helped encourage him to go ahead and be willing to make mistakes is big for his growth and his potential growth in the future. And I think that this was a big moment in his development. And thank you to Fred Warner for having the guts and being a team captain and saying, look, hey, this is what we need from you. And we need you to be better so we can be better. That's a good way to handle it. And it seems like Trey has responded in a big way because we've heard positive, comments and outcomes about what he's been doing at practice since.
And Ant, let's not also forget that this is a defensive guy going to an offensive guy and doing that, right? Oh, yeah. This isn't a defensive guy going up to another defensive guy and being like, dude, listen, you got to go harder because you're not giving our offense a good look, right? You're not giving our wide receivers a good look. You're not giving the line. No. This is a defensive captain who's facing this kid who's seen what he can do, seen his special talents, going up to him and being like, dude, look, you're holding back. You're not letting yourself be the best version of yourself. You're not letting yourself be all you can be. And this team needs that. This team needs that right now in practice, and eventually is going to need that on the football field. So if you can't do it here, you're not doing it out there. So show us you can do it here right now. Let's make this defense better right now. And when the time comes, you're going to be that guy out on the field that's going to make it that much harder for opposing defenses.
Yeah, I think no one has a doubt that Trey Lance is eventually going to be that dude. I think that this guy has, everything that he needs to have between his ears. I mean, he's really intelligent. He's super smart. He's cooler than a cucumber because even when the bullets were flying at Arizona, he didn't look panicked. He didn't look stressed. He was handling the situation in a big way. He's very aggressive, not afraid to take on multiple defenders trying to get to the end zone. Those are all things that I see from Trey Lance that make me think that he has what it takes to be a big-time player in this league. The thing everyone's just got to wait for is that development, and that development is only going to come through time. He's a 21-year-old kid. He had a lot to learn, and he had a system that was going to be very complex to learn. Did he learn it? Yes. But now implementing that in an everyday system, being able to know when to check, when to go through your progressions, when is read what, to what, You got to go through your progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you're going back. The great ones can do that, and the mastery of the offense can allow you to do that. That's when the whole shot, big plays happen. It's not always first read that's open. He's learning that kind of stuff. And when he has the mastery of this offense with his skill set and abilities that he has, he should be virtually unstoppable in Kyle Shanahan's offense. We look forward to that day. We just have to be patient and wait as he develops. Because sometimes you put a guy out there before they're fully developed, and you have some not only growing pains, but you also hinder that growth as well.
Because you're afraid to pull the trigger. And this is what we've been saying. This is what we've been talking about. If you put him out there too early, put him in a situation where you put the weight of the world on the kid's shoulders and, hey, you're going to learn trial by fire. Some people excel in those environments, in those situations. Some do. Some thrive in those moments. Some don't. And not only do some don't, some regress in those moments. They become a shell of themselves. They're no longer the confident, swaggy, sort of just fearless player. They start becoming fearful. And it's not necessarily always mistakes. Sometimes it's shots. Sometimes it's, missed throws. Sometimes it becomes an area or an aspect where you start believing that, there are certain things you can't do on a football field. And if you have the skill sets to be able to do a lot of things on the football field, and you're now second guessing whether or not you can do some things on the football field, well, that's going to seep in and affect everything else that you potentially do on a football field, because you're removing weapons from your arsenal that you do have and should have, because you're in your own headspace. And once you're in your own headspace, and it's really hard to get out of your own headspace, especially if you're that far in.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's why they talk about quicksand. Once you start making a mistake, and then it feels like you're working so hard to get out of it that you just continue to sink. That can happen. I don't think that's going to happen to Trey Lance. I honestly believe this guy has a build and a mentality that he's going to be able to handle all situations, even if it's this situation. Getting his team to the playoffs, this could be a situation where he's able to rise to the occasion and get it done. We are going to find out in a big way, because this game is going to go crazy. And then right after the game, Alex, we're going to get to know if the Saints won or lost, and if the 49ers clinch that playoff spot or not.
Saints, do us a favor, lose this football game so that way the Niners can win. We don't have to worry about anything. We're all happy as could be knowing the Niners are in Ant. And then week 18 is not about who's playing quarterback. It's just a matter of who do you want to play in round one, and can you impact or affect that in any way whatsoever. Look, San Francisco 49ers fans, faithful Cutback crew, there's a lot of questions still, and there's still a lot of week left. There's still a lot of day left and a lot of topics to talk about. We're going to see what happens all throughout practice, but let us know in the comment section below whether or not you think Jimmy has any chance of playing whatsoever. Should he be in? Should he be out? And then also, while you're down there talking about that, let us know about the practice squad signings, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Yeah, definitely let us know. I mean, there's been a lot of conversation throughout the week already. People have been filling up the comment section with questions about Jimmy Garoppolo, questions about Trey Lance. People are ready for Trey Day. And I think some people are just there. It's not so much that they're ready for Trey Day, but they're concerned about Jimmy's thumb as well. I am curious what people think. Should we put a injured Jimmy Garoppolo out there, even if he's able to get it done? If Jimmy Garoppolo can play quarterback the way he was playing pre-injury with the injured thumb, do you think he's still a better option than Trey Lance? I'm curious what people think, and I'm curious what Kyle Shanahan ultimately decides, because he is the one that makes the decision on this matter, not me, not you, and not anyone else, as much as they want to pound the Twitter keys and let everyone know that Kyle Shanahan should be listening to them.
Listen, I this is where I disagree. I think Kyle Shanahan's totally listening to this podcast, because he explained a grade 3 sprain exactly the way I would. The only difference was the fleck of bone. That's it. The only difference was the fleck of old fleck of bone.
It was really great, Alex, watching the press conference and just sitting there being like, yeah, I already done knew this. Because
we've been talking about this for a few days.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a little bit. I mean, this is why you just got to pump the brakes. I mean, I know people were getting excited, and my first inclination before I just sat and thought about it was, yeah, Jimmy's out. This is gonna be Trey's time. We're gonna have to roll with Trey. But no matter how much Jay Hill wanted us to go that route, all the things he sent us in group text this week, trying to get us on. Colin Cowherd said, this person said, that person said, KNBR personality said, it doesn't matter, Jay Hill. No matter how much you try to convince us with media members who I wouldn't trust to evaluate one single player if my life depended on it, it's not going to convince me any other way other than what is going on in the football field, what Kyle Shanahan and these players are saying, and what I can see with my own eyes. If I see with my own eyes, if Jimmy starts struggling, then yeah, it should be Trey. But it definitely should have been. It's definitely going to be Kyle's decision, and I have no idea because I haven't seen Trey play since Arizona.
No one knows, and we'll just have to wait and see. I also would like to shout out Sac State for the wonderful degree in kinesiology that helped me know and understand the wonderful grade 3 sprain situation and what it actually meant. So shout out to my alma mater there for a wonderful education. And wow, my college degree finally came in use. What a surprise.
Yeah, well done. Even I knew a sprain though was also a tear. So
listen, I knew that. I knew that as well. I figured I'd give him some credit. I have that piece of paper at home. It says I did something important. So,
well, what's hilarious, right, is Kyle Shanahan says it's a sprain. Rappaport and Schefter say it's a tear, and we said right on here they're both right. Like they're literally both right. It's no one's. Yeah, if you're a media member, you want to say tear. It sounds worse, and if you're a head coach, juicy. You want to say sprain because it kind of brings it. Oh, it's just a sprain. Don't worry about it.
Just a sprain. Yeah, just rub some dirt on it. It'll be fine. That's how it works. Spit on it. Spit on it. It's fine. Get the Windex.
You should be able to play.
Exactly. That's freaking Aziz in that elbow and now dealing with the knee. Look, Cutback crew, we got a lot of stuff still coming your way. We got a preview show coming up next. We got a live stream a little bit later tonight. We'll see you for the rest of it. And until then, stay safe.
And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.